Welcome to the Bar in the Brain podcast. On today's episode with myself, Tone Earl, a practicing attorney, and my best friend, Taylor Fawumi, who, mind you, I went and actually looked up. I had found your bio because I was like, I know what my best friend does in like my language. Like if you ask
Right.
me, she be therapizing.
Mhm.
But my girl is actually a licensed clinical professional counselor and board approved supervisor. And she be therapizing, basically.
Indeed.
And yes, indeed. And so the point of this podcast is well, we basically love the media and we love TV, we love movies. My girl Taylor, she loves watching these Lifetime movies that just crazy storytelling be sucking you in. Like you just get so hooked on the story. And she likes breaking the characters down and identifying, making diagnoses, identifying different things about the characters. And I like just everything about movies, but also the legal aspect of some of the shows that can come out. But I like asking her questions about the diagnoses and things like that. So that's how we got the bar in the brain. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about All Her Fault. That is premiering or has premiered on Peacock. It is a limited series. It has about 8 episodes, and we'll be going through each of them starting today with episode 1. So let me just say, spoiler alert, because we're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to spoil these episodes. So if you've not watched All Her Fault, pause the video, go watch episode 1, and then bring it on back. Actually, you should probably watch the whole season because we might talk about things we already know about later episodes as we break down each episode. So just we're gonna spoil it. Just making it very clear. Don't be in the comments talking about y'all didn't say we said it.
Spoiler.
Exactly, spoiler. All right, so overall thoughts, Tay. What did you think about episode 1 of All Her Fault?
I'm not gonna lie, when I first started to watch it, I was low-key bored because I was like, oh, it's just a, American family. She's picking up her son, things were a little slow in the beginning, but
For sure.
then I recognized that they amped up really quick, which is what sucked me in. I think for
Mm-hmm.
me, I just don't do well with movies or TV shows that are really slow in the beginning because I feel like you have to grab my attention to keep me engaged,
For
right?
sure.
So the first episode, the first like maybe 15-ish, 20 minutes, I was like, ignore. But once you realize like, oh, this is real life, like her son's not where her son's supposed to be, and obviously working mom, she looks, she's dressed up, you could tell that she wouldn't be your idea of a neglectful mom. And we have seen so many different other movies where parents do kind of show up like that, like, oh, this is where my child's supposed to be, meanwhile
Yes.
they know they've done something to the
Yes.
child and they in the backyard somewhere. So
Yes.
at first I was thinking to myself, did she do something to Milo, or is she, because I'm once I'm thinking like, obviously she is laying it on thick, like, I have a text message, Milo's supposed to be at this address and he's with this mom. um and to find out that that wasn't the case, it just got really serious really quickly. So I
It
really
did.
enjoyed it, and it kind of like sucked me in because it's like, well, where is Milo? Where can he be?
Exactly. No, it was. And this movie had all types of notes of suspense that
Hmm.
didn't like come to fruition. And before I get into that, I do want to note that the cast in this show is just amazing. You have Chef's Kiss, you have some really heavy hitters. Now, I did not watch Succession. I don't know if you watched Succession, but I
I have
saw
not.
you haven't watched it. Okay. My husband has watched Succession and he keeps telling me I should watch Succession. It's just one of those movies that when I watch the bits and pieces of it, it's so white that I just can't do it. It's like this is
So
white people problems and I just can't relate. But Sarah Snook, who plays Marissa Irvine in the show,
mhm.
you probably would have seen her if you watched Succession, and potentially you would have been happy to watch the show because she is in it, and she actually does a phenomenal job. I think she does
She's
really
a
well.
amazing actress.
She
She
is
did that.
amazing. She is.
All 8 episodes, she did
Oh,
that.
she did that. She did that. It was really refreshing to see her acting in this type of film. Even though I can say like I haven't seen her really act anywhere else, it was just nice to see a fresh face do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So we had Sarah Snook, and then we had Jake Lacey, who plays Peter Irvine, and this is a familiar face for all the Office fans. He played Peter in The Office, but he also went by Plop when he got his little nickname. So it was also nice to see his range because, baby, he was really. I do feel like towards the end of the season, he went from like 0 to 100 real quick.
Which I think for me, I didn't like. I do feel like
Yeah,
it was rushed a bit. Like I feel
yeah,
like we should have gotten more episodes. Like this show easy could have been 12 episodes.
for sure,
And I
for
think
sure.
and I think if they did it where it was 12 episodes, it would have just not just ended so abruptly and
For
just
sure.
like things ramped up so quickly that it made the show feel rushed. Still amazing show, still a very much recommended to people to watch, but I
Yeah.
do feel like as a fan of the show I was robbed because I feel like they could have definitely just spread it out just a little bit.
Facts. I agree with you that I do think they were building up the trauma that Peter went through and like the stuff that he was holding on to that made him the way he is and made him just so
Hmm.
freaking needy.
Hmm.
But I do felt like from the moment when he realized this was all going to fall back on him, he was like, "Oh hell no," and just started acting crazy. But
Yeah.
I thought he did really good. And then we
Mhm.
had Dakota Fanning, who's just a fan fave. We've seen her since she was a little girl. I
Yeah.
thought her character was really, I don't know. I think
Flat.
that it was flat, right? Like it just kind of seemed like she was there just to be there. And like
Yeah.
I think this is like again the suspense that just didn't carry itself through the show was this idea that did Dakota Fanning do it? Like her
Hmm.
involvement with the nanny and her not doing a background check on the nanny, just finding her off of some Craigslist and stuff like that. I thought that was really interesting, but again, I really didn't understand the point of her character in this show other than to show us another point of view of the working mom.
Right. I do think I saw the purpose, but I just
Hmm.
wish they gave her more of a voice. I do
Yeah.
understand that she was overwhelmed. I do
Yeah.
understand that she was like high up in her job. And even though her husband didn't see any value in what she did, the fact that she was in the publishing world, which is super important, and she
Right.
had a big role in it, but her husband couldn't even put her son to bed. Calling saying he
Ooh.
really wants you, calling saying he can't figure it out. And, just to, you know, highlight sometimes our men in weaponized incompetence. Like, you can figure it out. This is your son. This is our son.
Whew, you know
Like,
what? What's so funny about the show is as Akeem and I were watching it, that man got worse and worse and worse. And I felt like Akeem was trying to like make excuses for him in the beginning until he was like, "Nah, I can't. He's a trash man. He's a trash man."
I don't even think he was trash. I just think, you know, I think unfortunately society breeds us to believe that in order to be happy, in order to have this vision of the American family, you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to have this really good job, you need to be in a really big house, drive a really nice car. And sometimes that might not really be what you want on the inside, but you allow society to influence your decisions. And now you're stuck in this situation where you're really unhappy. I don't even think her husband was a bad guy. I think he was unhappy. Like, I don't think
Oh,
he
he was
wanted to be
trash.
married. I don't think he wanted to have a kid. I
He
think
was
he was just
trash.
doing, yeah, he's doing it for the plot. And like, yeah, he's trash in the sense of he has now involved all these people into something that he really doesn't want. And no, that doesn't make you a bad guy. What makes you a bad guy is making it seem like these are the things that you want, but you're not showing up.
I don't know. I think he was just a trash man. I think his parents fed him with a silver spoon. I think he
Yeah.
so used to being taken care of. He don't know the
Yes.
first thing about taking care of nobody. Because if my husband calls me when he knows I'm in an important work meeting to ask me where my son's favorite toy is or to ask me to sing my son to sleep or whatever, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
pissed. We lose
But
our nanny and he don't want to sit there and figure out how we can help each other with the work at home. That's gonna be
right.
me.
But the thing is, Dakota created that environment.
Talk about it. Talk
She
about it.
created this, yeah, she created this environment. You made this man child.
Mm,
It's not
mm.
all his fault. Now, we're not definitely not going to take the responsibility from him, but we
She
can
enabled it.
recognize she enabled it.
She
She
did
took on the
enable it.
role of mom,
She did. And I think
mom
that's
wife.
she did. She did. And I think that's another aspect of just being a woman in society. This idea that I do find myself saying, I don't want to nag. I don't want to nag. I don't want to be this person. Like, am I doing too much? Is
Mhm.
this something that really needs to be said? Is this something I should be worried about? And I think it's finding that balance of like, no, actually, I do need to communicate my frustrations with you, because if I
Yeah.
don't, it's going to keep happening. And even if it does end up in an argument, so be it. We got to figure out how
Mhm.
we're going to work through this, because I can't
Mhm.
just keep living a life letting all the annoying things you do slide until a moment where I just burst and pop. Exactly.
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 I do. So, okay. All right. Fair enough. I get why Dakota Fanning was in the show.
Mhm.
Obviously, her plot points definitely did kind of help this underlying theme of
Mhm.
women in American society, I particularly white women in American society, because I do think there were some things that happened in this show that it just, if it was you or I, it would have went completely different.
Completely different.
Which brings me back to episode 1. Episode 1 starts off where we meet Marissa Irvine, and she
Mhm.
is walking to this house to pick up her son from a play date. And
Mhm.
we learn a lot of issues with this woman, why we're already ready to blame her for her child gone missing. We learned that her child was never at this address, and that she organized a play date for her son through text message with a woman she met once before in a bathroom at a social gathering.
Mhm.
Now, mind you, I do think this movie takes place in 2024, 25. And so we are talking about post COVID. We're talking about today's type of world. I don't know anybody who would let their son agree to have their son go home with somebody they truly do not know, to a place that they have never been. What say you?
I feel for Marissa. I feel for Marissa because I think some people are just super trusting. You know, you're feeding off the vibes, right? Like they vibed out in the bathroom, and she knows that her son and Dakota's son play well together, and she did see her one other time at the little orientation. So
Oh, she
they
did.
made, I think they met but didn't talk, but then
Right.
in the bathroom they bonded and
Right.
really talked about some of the things
Yeah.
that they were going through and what kind of made them, really recognize the um similarities of the things they
Right.
had going on.
Yeah.
However, I think what made me look at her side eye is you could have at least confirmed by calling the person
Pick up the
that this,
phone.
like, I just feel like just texting is kind of crazy. Not gonna lie, and I love texting. Texting is,
Texting from an unknown number. Like
well,
she
my thing is, no, it wasn't an unknown number. Her number was saved in her phone as whatever, but she didn't confirm it with the school, and
no
that's what.
facts. Didn't it come through as like an unknown number? But the girl said, "Hey, it's Jenny," and she like said her name, and she didn't
Yes,
confirm that that number was actually her number, right? So
exactly.
again, you get an unknown number, you don't do the work to figure out where this message is actually coming from. You just trusting it because they said the name of somebody you actually met before. In the world of AI, I just think we're clipped. We're clipped. Because this stuff happens on a daily. And for her to fall for that, oh Lord.
Yeah, it just would have been a no for me. Like, I would have had to talk to Jenny on the phone. Hey, Jenny, you're going to pick him up. You know what? Nah, you don't have to pick him up. I'll drop him off to where you are and they can have a play date. And then I will kick him
Exactly.
back. I will pick him up after I'm done doing what I'm doing.
Exactly. You can't be that busy.
But I just feel like, in the show, obviously, this is um a very affluent white, like, wealthy area. There,
It's
it gives
interesting.
entitlement, it gives super trusting, it gives, like, these things don't happen around here, these don't happen to us.
No,
So that's the
facts.
kind of, like, that's the kind of vibe she gave off when she pulled up to homegirl house. What was her name again?
Esther.
Esther, when she pulled up
Esther.
to Esther's house, she was like, I'm picking up my son. Like he was having a play date with what was his name? So it was Milo, and then is it Jack?
It's Jason or Jack or something like that.
Yeah, it's like I think it was Jack. So he was like, "Yeah, we have a play date and da da da," and she's like, "There's no kids here.
The moment
How'd you get
that
my
woman would have
address?"
look. The moment that woman would have opened the door and I had never seen her a day in my because again, that's the other issue with letting your kid
Jenny
go home
didn't.
with somebody you
Jenny
don't
didn't open
know.
her. Yeah,
It
Jenny didn't
wasn't
open the
Jenny's
door.
house. And that's why people don't even do slumber parties and sleepovers in today's time because you don't know who all over there. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know who family member over there that could be looking at children awkwardly and whatnot. But one thing I want to talk about is the actual woman who answered the door because I would have been like, oh, wrong house. And close the door. She was
Yeah.
so helpful, which made me think, oh, she in on it. Cause why you being so helpful letting this lady come in your house to look for her son? Now she gonna implicate you.
Well, I was thinking to myself that potentially, but then I also feel like if you don't have nothing to hide, why wouldn't you be helpful? I think obviously, if a woman came to my house distraught, looking for her child, whatever, I would. I might would be a little suspicious, like you trying to set me up, trying to get me in here, have your
Right,
goons come around
right,
back, breaking my
right.
house or something like that. I
That
would
part.
think that initially,
Uh-huh.
but it looked like it was a beautiful day outside. We might not have been all up in my house. I might have had you in the backyard or had you at the front porch. And I would still try to assist if I could.
You too
But
nice. You too freaking
we're
nice.
talking about our baby. We're
I
talking
don't
about our
get
baby.
F them kids. I don't care. You not coming in my house looking for nobody that ain't been there.
I just think to myself, if I was in her shoes, I would want some help. And
If I
if
was in
this
her
was a true,
shoes, I wouldn't have let my kid go home with no stranger.
you right. But things happen even when everything is in, like all your ducks are in a row. Things still happen. So I try to see, to myself, like, how would I want to be treated and trying to go through it like that. Obviously, I'm not going to do anything that's going to put me in danger initially. You know
And
what I
that's why I
mean?
wouldn't have let that white woman in my house because that's dangerous.
I mean, yeah. I mean, especially if you're not white too, but
And exactly why it's like I see how movies and shows could end so quickly if they had an all black cast because there's just some things we know wouldn't happen, and that's one of
agree.
them. That woman coming into that house helping these people find their baby, and she's just being so supportive, only to find out later in another episode she is a kind of implicated. Um,
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, so Milo's not home.
Mm-hmm.
And so Marissa calls Peter, her husband, and is like, is he with you? And Peter's like, no, he ain't with me, he with you. So then the rat race go on and they head back to this beautiful home. I could not get over the
I
views from this
love their
home.
house.
That house was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Where did this take place? I don't think I ever really figured. I guess I should have from the police. Was it Chicago? Were they in Chicago?
I can't remember. That's a really good
They were in
question.
some suburb of like
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
big, let's see. Uh it took place Chicago. The
It
wealthy
was Chicago.
suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
exactly. They go back to this humongous house. So obviously they're doing good for themselves. We do
Mm-hmm.
learn that Marissa is in some type of trust handling, account handling business. She has a
Mm-hmm.
business partner who is played by Jay Ellis. His name was Colin Dobbs. Um, and his character was very interesting. I kind of felt he was a little bit out of place. I don't know how you felt. I just felt like they needed the token black guy and they chose him.
That that's what it gave to token black guy, and
Yeah.
of course he had to have gambling issues
Yeah.
and he had to be like dishonest, and I
Yes.
was just like all the
I
things.
I did thoroughly love that ultimately this entire series was all of the men's fault. And I'm like, okay. That's a nice play on the name. All her fault, but
Yeah.
really it's all of the
All
men's fault.
his
It's
fault.
all his fault. Exactly.
Right.
I thought that was actually a pretty cool kind of twist to like the
Mhm.
themes and the name of the show. But yes, then we see them talking with the police, and immediately it kind of seems like the police don't believe her because
Yes.
she's not really able to answer. I mean, she's obviously in shock, but she's not really able to answer a lot of questions. And like the fact that like this is just very odd behavior of you to be so careless to let your son go home with somebody. And we learned that the only way for kids to get out of the school is through a parent or a
Or a
nanny.
nanny.
Right. Which made it kind of obvious that the nannies had to be involved. And they had a nanny, and she talks about how Marissa's family had a nanny, and they went through a background check, some type of business that finds the best nannies. And like they got nannies. They got nannies that live in the house with them sometimes, and do the cooking and the cleaning and all that type of nanny. And so Marissa's nanny didn't live in her house, but Carrie, who I don't think we see in episode 1. I think we learn about her in the next episode. But
Episode 2, I
yeah,
think.
I think we learned. Oh no, actually, we do see her in episode 1. We learned that Carrie, who is Dakota Fanning's character, Jenny's nanny, she met up with Marissa's
Anna.
nanny, Anna, who is played by Cartia Vergara. Vergara. I wonder if she's any relation to Sofia Vergara. Vergara.
They definitely got the same last name, and
They do, right?
I guess they don't look super similar,
A
but
little bit.
you
But
think?
I'm not seeing any relation here because normally you would kind of see like, oh, niece of Sophia. Let me
Mm-hmm.
see. There's
Mm-hmm.
a search. Sophia has several known, including her biological cousin. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, she's not related to Sofia Vergara, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. She made her little debut in this movie. I thought she did pretty well. I thought
She was
that
sus.
she
She
was
was
a little
sus.
sus because she lied.
She lied a
And
lot.
she lied a lot. And they show us the lies in like real time. We saw her meeting with Carrie at the park, and
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, woman, Carrie asking you all these suspicious questions.
Like, so many questions. Like, you didn't pick up on a red flag of her asking all these questions. And then when you finally let them know, like, she'll be asking like how big the house was, and they ask like you guys' schedule, and
And
asking,
security cameras,
and security cameras. Do you guys have a code for the security system? No light bulb went off, Anna? Like nothing? You just thinking y'all just chopping it up?
bro. I thought
Did you
that was
ask her about Jenny and all these questions about her family and Jack's family, and did
it was
you
very
reciprocate?
one-sided. It had to be one-sided. And obviously these two were spending lots of time, as we learned later on in the season. They were spending lots of time together. And I just thought that was very interesting that she didn't really catch on to the kind of sneaky way and her interest in Milo. That woman was more interested in Milo than she was the own kid she was supposed to be a nanny for.
Nannying. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get that. So Anna deserves 3 lashes, and I think she is a little bit at fault for why Milo was taken for sure. But
Hmm.
I will stand by Marissa being. I mean, obviously we know, again, spoiler alert, we know Peter was really the whole mastermind behind all of this stuff. But I really
Right.
do feel like Marissa probably could have held on to Milo a little bit longer had she did a little bit better with her scheduling of
Yes.
Milo's playtime.
Confirmed
So
scheduling.
confirmed scheduling, exactly. And so we also see we learn more about Peter. And so I'm curious about your take on Peter from episode 1. Are you seeing any interesting hints of some type of mental disorder or issue with him in season 1
Um,
or episode 1, sorry?
Episode 1, not yet,
Mhm.
but to me, not on purpose, but he definitely gave off he was blaming her for why this happened.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. For me, I could read in between the lines, and I can tell that he was very passive aggressive in some regard, as he was fake supporting Marissa. Um,
Do you think
and
at that point in episode 1, is it clear that he knew this actually was his fault?
no, I don't think he knew yet.
Okay.
He's,
Mm-hmm.
but I did see his wheels start to turn, like maybe in episode 3.
Okay.
By episode 3, I think he started to put 2 and 2 together. Like, oh shoot, the writing is on the wall.
Right.
Like things are actually happening,
Right.
and it might be my fault, but I can't let nobody know that.
Bro, what do you get from this idea? He explained the accident with his brother and his sister. So uh Peter's brother has like a spinal injury where he is always going to have to be in a wheelchair, and Peter doesn't like when he uses the wheelchair, so he kind of pushes his brother to use this like walking stick, but that requires his brother to be on tons of pain meds because it's just really painful for him. And his brother is played by Daniel Monks. He plays Brian Irvine. And I thought it was funny because I actually think he acted pretty well. I loved seeing him kind of go off the rails when all that stuff kind of hit. But people just kept laughing at that face he kept making because it just kind of seemed like that's the face. I thought that was so funny. I was like, leave my man's alone. Let him make his upset face, okay? I thought that was funny. But what do you get in the earliest stages of the relationship between Peter, Brian, and then Lila, who is the sister? Uh what do you get from that in those early stages? Do you sense anything? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you have some type of diagnoses once we get to the end of the show. But I'm just wondering if in episode 1, do you know anything? Do you notice anything about the relationship between the siblings?
For sure, I can tell that they're all codependent. For
Mm.
sure, I can tell they have very unhealthy, an unhealthy relationship with one another. I think
Mhm.
it was obvious that Peter ran the show,
Mhm.
and his siblings were like his minions. He told them what to
Mhm.
do. He controlled the money. He controlled all the things, and it it almost seemed like maybe Peter took on um um what is it called, parentification of his siblings. Like, he was older, so I don't know where their parents were. I don't know if they really touched on that, but it seemed like Peter was pretty much over top of his siblings, raising them, really taking care of them, making sure they had all the things they needed. He took his role very seriously. So I could just tell the dynamic of the relationship was whatever Peter says goes.
Mhm.
And obviously with Leah, she has a extensive history with struggling with substance use, because she blamed herself, as well as Peter did, blamed herself for her brother's injury. And it was just something she could never get past, because she felt like if what happened when they were kids never happened, her brother would be thriving. He wouldn't have
Yeah.
this spinal injury. He wouldn't be like in this chair,
Right.
and it's all my fault. So
Right.
growing up with that immense guilt, and unfortunately, her picking up some negative coping skills and dealing with that using substances. But in the first episode, she is claiming that she is clean, she is sober, but at every turn, Peter reminds her that she's a junkie.
What is that? Is that like narcissistic behavior? Like, what is that? Always trying to make this person remember their negative and bad habits.
I mean, it's for sure a sense of narcissism, but I think it's also just a way to maintain control, right?
Mm.
A way to continue to put you in your place.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have confidence, if you have a voice, you'll try to fight me on stuff. And then I will no longer have
Mm.
control. I will no longer be running the show. So God forbid you get clean, you're self-confident, you start doing things that you love, you're passionate about
Mm,
something. He's like, no, I gotta squish that itty bitty parts of hope every time to keep her in line.
wow. So is there a way to, I don't know, treat narcissism? Because I mean, Peter seemed like he's a pretty cool dude outside of that need to be needed. Like, it seems like if he, like, first of all, Peter was put in the most horrible predicament when that car crash happened, and he realized, again, spoiler alert, and he realized his child was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the crime. Now, I do think that's only something a crazy person would do, is swap the babies. But I feel like is there
What? You
is
just
there
gonna take your actual flesh and blood and just put it in the car with this stranger and just take this new baby and just like, oh, it's mine. Finders keepers. Like,
but he clearly has this habit of not wanting to be at fault because he let his sister take the blame for something he did. What is that? Is do you think that that initial um do you think that that initial incident where he actually caused his brother accident and him being able to get away with it, do you think that's how it manifested, or was he already a narcissist?
um, you know, the personality disorders typically stem from trauma.
Mm.
So I think that was the beginning of the end. I think the fact
Mm.
that, like you said, he was able to get away with it, he didn't get caught. And even though he was walking around with all this guilt, he didn't have enough to spare his sister. And
Mm.
that's how the narcissism started to continue to fester. He, like you said, he runs away from responsibility and he gets somebody else to take the blame,
Mm.
because true narcissists aren't able, they don't have that part in the brain like all the rest of us, where they can accept responsibility for things.
Wow.
And to your question, the only thing you can do to help people who struggle with narcissism is they could do therapy and they can do the self-awareness and the different self-checks and maybe try to catch themselves before they kind of get into their spirals. But there's no pill. There's nothing to fix this. This is a personality disorder, something that they're going to die with. But there
Wow.
are ways that you can manage your behavior to make sure you are able to experience happy and healthy relationships. Now, something that is sad is narcissists are not capable of love, like true love, because they're going to always choose themselves over
Okay, hold
anybody.
on. Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. Okay, you dropped a bombshell on me because I did not know that.
Oh
They are
yeah.
literally not capable of that type of affection. And when you say love, are we talking agape? Are we talking eros and all the other what type of love
Every,
we talking about?
everything above. It's super
Really?
it's superficial for
So
them.
he's not really protecting his siblings out of love. That's purely
He was
selfish.
protecting himself. If you
Mm,
think about everything he
wow.
did starting from a kid, he made sure Peter was good.
Wow. So does now did that is that because of the incident with his brother, or could we say he was probably born that way? Like
It's
could we
it's
even say it's because he was the oldest, right? Like, is it because he was the oldest child and then maybe he had some resentment towards his younger siblings because maybe they didn't have to have, to do the
yeah.
chores and they didn't have to have these leadership qualities and stuff like that?
It could have started before the incident, but I think
Wow.
the incident solidified it.
Mm,
Because I mean, we didn't know about Peter's life before the incident. He didn't
mm-hmm.
really talk about that. But
Right.
I mean, I know you're the baby, so
Mm-hmm.
you might not understand this, but coming from me, where I am an older sibling,
Mm-hmm.
some of those traits are bestowed on you and not on purpose. But
Mm,
because you are a role model, you
mm-hmm.
are seen as the older sibling, there are unspoken rules for you that not all children can take well. So it sounded
Mm,
like Peter was very, you know, He was very serious about his role as big brother. However, he saw that role being potentially um impacted with this incident. So what does he do? Not fess up and tell the truth and be honest. He
Mm-hmm.
blames his sister, or he allows his sister to think
Right.
that she
Right.
did it, and he says nothing.
I
But
do.
yes, it is your fault.
Yes. I do wonder though, because I don't know. This sounds really, really bad, but I feel like at that age, if I could get away with causing my brother to have a permanent injury, even though and the person who is being blamed for it doesn't know it wasn't their fault, I feel like most people would take that opportunity. I really do. I feel like that, like you wouldn't want to be, especially because he initially said he was going to tell, but then he didn't know what the extent of his brother's injuries was. And once he realized this was going to be permanent, it was one of those things where everybody was already blaming you and it didn't look fun. So, at what point would have
But
been, I mean, obviously a good point would have been then and there, but really at what point would it have been a good time for him to say, actually, I did it?
I mean, that's hard to say because all of us are so different. But I think if I was put in that position, because of how I feel about all of my siblings, I'd have
Mm,
I'd have fessed up. It might have,
mm.
maybe I wouldn't have did it that day, but it wouldn't have been more than a couple of weeks where I would have, guilt would have
It
ate
would have
me
ate
up.
at you.
It would have
Yeah.
ate me up. It would have ate me up
Yeah.
real bad
Yeah.
because I do truly love my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Like with all of me, I would give up my life for my
Mm,
siblings. Even
mm,
for one of my siblings I don't even talk to like that,
mm-hmm.
I would still like willingly give my life for them.
Mm,
And I couldn't let one of them think that they did something that it was truly all my fault.
mm. That
I couldn't live with that.
right. No, I hear you on that because I do think like
Years, like
years,
she,
decades.
decades, and he's eat, sleeping, living life just fine. Now, do I think he carries some of that guilt? Probably not, because he's a narcissist. To me, definitely has all the narcissism. Now, if he was like you or me, yeah, he would, he would have been carrying that forever. And typically when someone's carrying that guilt and stuff around, like carrying a lot of stuff, you see it on them physically. They're not looking the best. They've lost
Mm,
weight, their skin is changed, they might have health conditions now.
mm-hmm.
They're not thriving
Mm-hmm.
because they have all this weight of
Right.
things on them.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for Peter. He was doing
Nah,
great.
he was doing good. He was doing so good.
Sleeping
And
like a baby.
he was doing so good. And cuz it really
Mhm.
makes you wonder like what would have been the difference of him taking the blame? Would his
It would have
as a
changed everything. It would have
mm,
changed everything. But and also that would have showed that maybe later on in life he maybe had narcissistic traits, but he wouldn't have
mm,
had the narcissistic personality disorder. Because you
mm.
also could, they are separate.
Ooh, talk about it.
You
Okay.
can, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can have the traits and not have the personality disorder. The
So
personality disorder is very specific in all the things that you have to have in order to
okay.
qualify. Having the
Okay.
traits is kind of like almost like the one-offs, and like
Uh-huh.
things different, like the different issues in your interpersonal relationships and jobs and things like
Yeah.
that. Like you could have the traits,
Right.
but you might not have the full-on personality disorder.
What would I guess what distinguishes why somebody would just have traits? Like why wouldn't they also how could they just be somebody who has traits, I guess? If that
That's
makes
a good
sense.
That is a good question. I mean, well, typically, maybe someone who doesn't have like the traumatic background,
So
like they don't,
you
like typically the personality disorders, they they feed, or they really manifest with trauma inconsistencies in your life, like within childhood and things like that. So this could be you manifesting traits in your adult life. but you didn't struggle with
Mm.
those things in your childhood and
Childhood.
in your teenage years and things like that. So in your growing years, things could have been somewhat normal,
Okay.
but
Mm-hmm.
as you've gotten older, as you've kind of lived life this certain way, depending on how you were raised, if you were raised entitled, if you were raised where everybody's doing everything for you, you can kind of come off narcissistic because this is the way life has been. I never had to do
Mm.
any of these things. I've never had to
Mm.
take accountability. I've never had to be responsible for anything. So why are you trying to force me to do it now?
Is that kind of like the key ingredient of a narcissist, somebody who does not take accountability? Like if you had to sum it up in one kind of trait, is it someone who lacks accountability?
Definitely one of the main points. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm. That's what I definitely got from Peter. Is it was interesting because he
Running
was
from
somebody,
accountability. Like
he
he was
was running from
allergic.
accountability, but at the same time, he kept making himself accountable to people. Like Leah, without me, you'd still be on drugs, and brother, without me, you would be in that wheelchair and be, having to be stuck in a wheelchair. Like it just seemed like he doesn't want to take accountability for the negative things only, but he will take accountability for the good stuff, for being able to support them and be able to have control over them.
Another symptom or another manifestation of narcissism, inflated self-esteem.
Mm.
Like an inflated sense of importance.
Mm.
You're nothing without me.
That's how I wonder how
Like
him. That's so interesting because I wonder how him and Marissa got together in the first place. Because towards the middle of the season, it became very clear that she do not want this man. She wants her son.
I think once she realized who he truly was, she was like, I don't know him. Like, who is this man who's been
But was
lying to me for years, who have been, you can hurt these people that you say you love so much. You can hurt, you know, anybody and think if you say I'm handling it or I'm doing these things that makes it okay. Like I think really once she saw the real him, when she found out what happened with his siblings, I think
mm-hmm.
that was the nail in the coffin.
Ooh, what would you have done? What would you have done if you found out your husband had lied all his life about causing a permanent injury on his brother and blaming it on his sister? I'd have to leave him. I don't know if I would kill him like she did, but
I definitely wouldn't have killed him either, but it would be no getting past that. I just feel like I can't trust you. You lied for decades.
do
You
you think you would
like
would you feel safe with your husband being around your child?
no.
Right.
No.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Like I wouldn't trust you at all. And like I know they were trying, I think she was trying to save face and like trying not to make, super permanent decisions with the temporary feelings that she was feeling. So I do understand just her trying to figure things out and trying to focus on getting Milo back. But I think if she had Milo, she probably would have dipped, left a little full page letter on the on the counter, and like he would have never seen her or Milo again or something. Like
Right. But she knew
my
she couldn't
lawyers
do
will
that. She knew she couldn't do that.
not
So
it
she had
not once she saw the lengths that he will go
to protect himself and
to
protect his
protect
son. Yeah.
mm-mm,
Not even his
himself.
son, just
Not
himself.
even himself.
Yeah. Right.
You
Because
want to want? I'll give you a perfect example of why I say that. He left his son in a fucking trunk. Ooh, am I allowed to cuss?
yes. Yes. You can
He
cuss.
left he left his son in a trunk in
Facts.
the middle of a parking lot at night
Fact. He didn't say
in
Milo Daddy's
Chicago.
here. No, yeah, he didn't. Yeah. When I figured that out, because I actually figured that out a little bit earlier on from watching the season, I was like, oh, the daddy did it. I thought that was interesting because you showed up to a hotel, killed a man, your son was in the back room with his eyes closed, and you didn't think to comfort him after what he's just experienced. Now he's traumatized like you were, but even worse. That man was evil. That's an evil father. And
And
then he
that's
had
the
the nerve to try
thing.
to take the credit, talking about, I'm the reason why we got Milo back. Sir, you're the reason Milo was taken in the first place.
If we would have had a funeral, grieved our son, we could have got pregnant again.
We could, I mean,
We could have
maybe,
actually had our own Milo.
maybe, but also like that experience, because I think they touched on it in Why'd I Get Married, when they lost their son in the car. Janet Jackson and her husband lost their son in the car, and they could never get over it. And so
Yeah.
maybe that was something that and that's why I like to think, see, this is where sometimes I see the good in people, even though I shouldn't. But again, I like to think Peter felt like he was doing something for the good of other people as well. I like to think, well, I'm thinking of my wife, and but at the same time, I'm acknowledging that, okay, that car accident clearly had to be his fault. And I mean, the way they did that car accident scene was just really weird. We
It
really don't
looked
know.
it looked like he was trying to get something and he wasn't paying attention. And I think it looked like maybe she was coming, like she was doing a U-turn, and he hit her because she was turning into the road.
Yeah,
And so honestly, if it's from what I think, it was her fault.
it was
Carrie's.
Carrie's fault. Okay,
I think it was Carrie's fault.
and
But
it's
he hit her, and it was like the damage because he hit her and he was driving really fast. Their car went crazy.
facts. I mean, both cars were just totaled,
Mm-hmm.
basically. But it's one
Mm-hmm.
of those things where it's like, it's evil and good at the same time. It's
Mm-mm.
evil because you're taking somebody else's child, and he said he thought she was dead. He thought this child was about to grow up in the system, so he thought he was doing a child a favor. No,
I love how you trying to like
I swear I'm not.
de-villainize him
I
because
swear,
like
it's one of those things where I just feel like that could happen to anybody, and that's a tough predicament to be in. But it's one of those things that I think you pointed out is like that, even that guilt of recognizing that that child is not mine, that would eat away at me. But I don't know. At that point, I'm going to prison. So I don't know if I would be able to also tell on myself. Now, with my siblings, I don't think that there's a criminal implication there, but
he was a
I think that
kid. It was an
he
accident.
was
He
a
tripped
kid.
him. Like
It
you
was an
didn't. He didn't.
accident.
Yeah, he didn't beat the hell out of his brother or
Right.
something like
Right.
that. Like he
Right.
tripped him. It was a
Exactly.
very unfortunate accident.
Exactly. And you know what I thought was interesting, and I think that the show just didn't do really well, was how they disclosed that Peter had tripped him, because it just seemed like, oh, now you remember what happened? Oh, because this came from the brother. And it was like all this time you needed to hear him say one incorrect thing about how the accident happened, and now it's all coming back to your memory. I don't know. It just seems like it was kind of forced. But in any case,
But
it came out.
I think what triggered it is when he got the call from the doctor's office and they said
Yeah.
he was a candidate and Peter fucking lied about it.
No, that's facts. That's facts. I
That's what
would.
triggered him because he's probably thinking, what else has Peter lied about? He lied
Right.
about my accident. He's lied
Right.
about, he's just a
Right.
liar.
Right.
So I think that's what
Exactly.
sparked it because I don't think he would have even been thinking about that if he never got that phone call.
No, I think you spotted it. I think you're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I think we have thoroughly gone into Peter Irvine and
Mm-hmm.
really, so the diagnosis, is it just a narcissistic personality disorder, or could you find anything else?
It's hard because the personality disorder like really just stands out to me for him, but also I can tell he probably struggles with some kind of um ADHD maybe. Like I just felt like he was just never like he just seemed like he couldn't settle down and he just
Mm.
always had to be doing something. Like he
Mhm.
was just it just seemed like he was all over the place. Just he just gave
Mhm.
very chaotic energy from the
Mhm.
very beginning to me. It
Mhm.
just seemed like he was just
I could
super
see
just
that.
all over the place. Like he just never was settled. So I don't know if it would be ADHD or if it's just generalized anxiety because
Mm.
I feel like when people have those unsettled spirits, sometimes it is truly just anxiety. It's not hyperactivity.
Facts.
It's anxiety driving that behavior. So
Gotcha.
I would say maybe something in between those two. Um, but yeah, I think his main diagnosis for me would definitely be narcissistic personality disorder.
Narcissistic personality disorder. Okay. Well, we'll
For
continue to
sure.
watch the show to point out some of the things that he's doing that you can clearly point to being a factor of his diagnosis. And I think in the next episode, we can pick another character to really focus on.
Mhm.
But this episode was clearly about Peter, and we did not plan that. But I think there's probably a lot to be said about Peter, so
It
he
sure
will
is.
definitely come up in later episodes. But that was episode 1 of All Her Fault.
Hmm.
Thank you
Hmm.
for watching. Again, my name is Tone Earl, licensed attorney, and I'm here with my co-host Taylor Fawumi. Say it again. Say it again.
I am a licensed clinical professional counselor as well as a board approved supervisor. So a
Mm,
LCPC-S.
and nothing we're saying here it creates a client doctor relationship, attorney client relationship. Just you know, you heard the disclaimer in the beginning. You will have heard the
Yes.
disclaimer in the beginning.
Yes.
All right, hey, thank you so much for doing